mean, we haven't been reporting this name for a good few years. I mean, has that been the same in Iran? Has much been talked about?
Yes, we haven't heard from him that much until about 10 days ago that he announced that he was endorsing his vice president to run for the election. And when he was asked during a press conference, which he did most of the talking, although that the other person had to do the talking, it was his deputy's press conference, he was asked whether they had plan B in case Mr. Hamid Reza Baghai was disqualified. And he said, yes, we do have a plan. But not many people predicted that their plan B would be Mr. Ahmadinejad himself running for president. Huge shock this morning when I woke up. I just couldn't believe my eyes that Mr. Ahmadinejad, despite the wishes of the Supreme Leader, who came out publicly to say this is not the right thing to do, has decided to try to run. Obviously, he's not a candidate yet. The Guardian Council, which is appointed by the Supreme Leader, will decide who will qualify to run. But the fact that he has registered his name is huge.
And I mean, do we have any idea what his game plan might be? Does he really have political ambitions again?
I think he does. He loves the attention and the power. And to be honest, I think he has nothing to lose. We hadn't heard from him for the last 4 years. If he is qualified, then it means that the Guardian Council is standing against the Supreme Leader. If he is disqualified, he then becomes the anti-establishment, strong-willed hero who's standing against the Supreme Leader.
Right.
So either way...
We've seen a few anti-establishment figures around.
Exactly, and even some of those remind people of Ahmadinejad. So either way, he is going to gain something from this gamble, and he's going to come out the winner. I think the Supreme Leader is in a very awkward position now.
Yeah, what are the consequences of so publicly going against these explicit instructions from such a powerful figure?
For Ahmadinejad?
Yes,
or for
Ahmadinejad.
Khamenei? I personally think that it's not difficult for the Guardian Council to disqualify him, and he will again be forgotten until he tries to come back with some more controversial decisions and comments. I think what he's wrong about is to think that it's difficult for them to disqualify him or his favorite candidate, because 4 years ago Mr. Hashemi Rafsanjani, the ex-president of Iran, was also disqualified, and he was one of the pillars of the Islamic Republic. So if the Guardian Council is not afraid of disqualifying someone like Rafsanjani, they can easily do that to Ahmadinejad. Then we have to wait to see what else he wants to do.
And just remind us, Rana, take us back to his time as president and what he stood for and what Iran was like during that time.
I lived in Iran when he was chosen the first round, and it was a big surprise. He was not very well known. He was the mayor of Tehran, the capital, for a while, and it was a huge shock when he was elected. He's very radical in his views, very conservative, and life changed very quickly under President Ahmadinejad. Social freedom was limited, but more importantly, it was his economic policies, the sanctions that came into place under his presidency. So a very high rate of inflation, unemployment. Even in that press conference last week, a reporter stood up and said, "Sorry to say this is unprofessional, but you have ruined 8 years of my life." So life was tough. And he's still under a lot of criticism, but it doesn't seem that it doesn't bother him.
and just take us through, something like 120 people have registered to run in this election. The Guardian Council then has to vet them, and they pretty much have the say of who runs and who doesn't.
They have technically they have the final say. So people will have to choose from a handful of candidates that will be chosen by the Guardian Council, and that's why when some say that Iran is probably the only democracy in the Middle East, we say it's democracy Middle Eastern style, right, because the Supreme Leader has his people who will then choose who can run for the presidency. So you are not free to choose whoever you want.
Rana, thank you so much. Rana Rahimpour from BBC Persian.